الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله أستغفر الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. Jazakallah brothers for attending again, inshallah. Today is our sixth lesson and sixth lesson and fifth um, topic, inshallah, and a very important one as well. So page number 51, desire of praise, desire, hubbe madh, wanting compliments. Brothers, feel free to come closer if you want, and feel free to grab a chair as well. Okay, so desire of praise, page 51. This is the fifth of the 47 viruses of the heart, or the diseases of the heart that we're doing. So inshallah, we're going to do the definition of this desire of praise, desire of compliments, wanting people to praise us, wanting people to compliment us. We'll do the definition of that. Then we'll do a verse of the glorious Quran with its tafsir as well, and also a hadith on this topic. And we've also got a story on this issue as well, inshallah. And then there's three causes and cures for desiring praise. So page 51, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, desire of praise. The definition of desiring praise: to admire compliments from others, or to desire compliments and respect for a particular deed. Straightforward, isn't it? Straightforward, self-explanatory, the definition. Blessed verse of the glorious Quran. Allah Almighty warns in the glorious Quran Kareem: لا تحسبن الذين يفرحون بما أتوا ويحبون أن يحمدوا بما لم يفعلوا فلا تحسبنهم بمفازة من العذاب ولهم عذاب أليم. Never think of those who rejoice over their doings and wish that they be praised without doing any good deed. The people who want to be praised without doing anything. So false praise. Never think that they are far from punishment, and for them is painful punishment. Sadrul Afadil, Lama Maulana Sayyid Muhammad Na'imuddin Muradabadi Rahmatullah alayh, he, commentator of the Quran, he elaborates on the sacred verse in the commentary Khaza'inul Irfan. So the name of his commentary of the Quran Sharif is Khaza'inul Irfan. He says, this verse was revealed about the Jews who rejoiced whenever they deceived and misled any human being. So whenever they committed sins, whenever they pulled someone away from Islam, they were happy, they were delighted. And secondly, so the verse mentions two things, and the second thing that it mentions, besides this, they wish to be referred to as scholars, when in actual fact, they were fools. So they wanted to be praised, or they wanted titles that they didn't deserve. So wanting to be praised with a title or for something that you haven't even done, this is haram. It's false praise. Liking false praise, liking sometimes when people praise you and you know you're not as qualified as they're saying, that's haram as well. The glorious Quran is telling us. Ruling, this glorious verse warns all self-conceited individuals, proud individuals, as well as anyone who wishes to be praised for a deed they have not done, or anyone who wishes to be labeled a scholar even though he is not, or wishes to be famous for a quality that he does not possess. Okay, so this ayat karima again is making it very clear, to be delighted when you commit a sin or cause trouble amongst people and then be happy upon that, that's a sin. And to want to be praised for something that you've not done. Okay, we're going to further elaborate on this same thing. Glorious hadith of the Prophet ﷺ: desiring praise abolishes your good deeds, it obliterates your good deeds. Okay, next page 52. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala reported that the noblest Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam advised abstain from combining the worship of Allah Almighty with the desire to be complimented by human tongues. Okay. Otherwise, your good deeds will be obliterated. So don't want to be praised for the things that you do. Don't want to be praised. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas reported that the Holy Rasul warned, the desire for praise blinds and deafens men. So this is Hadith Sharif. حب الثناء يعمي ويسم. حب الثناء يعمي ويسم. The desire for compliments makes people blind and deaf. It's a very, very important hadith this. Even intellectual people, smart people with degrees, scholars, become blind and deaf. There's certain things that can make even the wisest people just blind and deaf and just not even think straight and make their minds go blank. And sometimes you hear the smartest people saying the most foolish things, and you think, where's this guy's common sense gone? He's meant to be a scholar, or he's meant to have a degree, he's meant to be educated, and he's saying something so foolish. And because he's blinded by arrogance or his ego, or he just wants to be praised, or he's afraid of criticism or something, something's shutting his mind down and his intellect isn't working. So our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the desire, the desperate, when a person desperately wants to be praised, that he's just going to go blind and deaf. Anything that, this is something I want to elaborate on in a bit as well. In fact, I'll mention it now. Most of the sins, I'm reading off a different book. Most of the sins that humans commit are they stem from the greed for praise, for compliments, and the fear of criticism. Most of the sins humans commit are based on, or they are committed either for the fear, the greed for praise, desire for praise and compliments, or the fear of criticism. So the fear of being criticized, it makes even the most intellectual people just want to bend and twist the truth and not see what's true, even though they've seen the truth, but they'll become blind to it. They've heard the truth, but they'll become deaf to it. So anything that will lead them to be criticized, they won't accept it, and they'll twist and bend narratives, manipulate situations to try to get praise, to avoid embarrassment, to avoid be'izzati. And this is a massive issue in our community because be'izzati, we're petrified of be'izzati in our community. We've been brought up from a young age to be afraid what people think, to look around you. Even as bache, we're scared. Log kya kahenge, what people are going to say. Stop doing that. Stop acting silly. What are people going to say? What are people going to say? So in our community, especially the Asian community, we're absolutely petrified. Our elder generation is well petrified of be'izzati, of embarrassment. So the fear of be'izzati makes us blind and deaf to the truth. And we will just bend the truth, bend facts, bend situations, manipulate situations to avoid having to say I'm sorry, and avoid having to apologize to someone, avoid having to admit a mistake or to change an opinion. Just to avoid saying, oh yeah, I got it wrong. I've been doing this such a thing wrong for the past year or 5 years or 10 years. We will manipulate any situation. So this hadith is well worth for us all to act upon. Again, I'll read it again. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said, the desire for praise blinds and deafens men. حُبُّ الثَّنَاءِ يُعْمِي وَيُسِمُّ. Here's a ruling on coveting praise. Okay. Wishing to be praised and feeling disappointed if you are criticized is the root of major misguidance and sins. Okay, so wanting praise and fear of criticism is the root of major misguidance and sins. I mean, we can't even say sometimes the whole, there's more than 70 sects amongst the Muslims. Sometimes it's just arrogance or the fear of criticism. Is the more intellectual you are, the harder it is to admit a mistake. The bigger scholar you are, the harder it is the more following and gathering you have, the harder it is to admit a mistake. Some of these sects could have been avoided if some Peer Sahib just shut his mouth or just said, I made a mistake. But the fear of criticism sometimes is what's at the basis of some of these sects and these massive groups. So wishing to be praised and feeling disappointing if you are criticized is the root of major misguidance and sins. Condemnable joy Wrong joy, bad joy, is for a man to be delighted with public status and to wish for people to compliment him, respect him, fulfill his needs, and give him precedence in walking or sitting. So wanting to, some people are so arrogant, they, what's the word? They hesitate to walk behind people. They want to walk in front of people. They don't want others to sit before they sit. And it shakes their ego if someone sits before they sit. Allah Hazrat Imam of the Ahl Sunnah Maulana Shah Imam Ahmad Raza Khan Rahmatullahi states, if someone enjoys being falsely praised, i.e. he wants people to compliment him for qualities that he doesn't even possess, then this is clearly and definitely forbidden. Sari harami qat'i. Harami qat'i. That's the verse that we just recited a few minutes ago. And this is the same verse. ولا تحسبن الذين يفرحون بما أتوا ويحبون أن يحمدوا بما لم يفعلوا فلا تحسبنهم بمفازة من العذاب ولهم عذاب أليم. It's the exact same verse number 188 of Surah Al-Imran that was on the previous page. Never think of those who rejoice over their wrongdoings, over their doings, and wish that they be praised without doing any good deed. Never think that they are far from punishment, for them is painful punishment. Okay. So Sayyidi Al-Hazrat Rahmatullah is saying we can derive from that verse that it's haram, qat'i, absolutely haram to enjoy false praise. However, if a compliment is true, so he's going to say now, if you like, if someone praises you and you like the praise, and it's not because you're liking and your delight of the praise and the compliment is due to your thinking, Allah Ta'ala has blessed me with this ni'mat that people are praising. Or if a scholar is being praised and his niyat, in his intention behind liking that praise is, I'm glad they're praising me, it means they're going to respect me, well, I've got a lot to teach them, so they'll listen to me more carefully if they respect me, and I've got a lot of deen to teach them. If a scholar likes praise for that reason, not for his personal ego, then so liking praise isn't always haram. It's not always haram. It depends on the intention as well. So, however, if the compliments are true, even with well-known justifications, such as Shamsul Aima, so some scholars will call them Shamsul Aima, the son of scholars. That seems like a massive thing, doesn't it? Fakhrul Ulama, the pride of scholars. Tajul Arifin, the crown of Gnostics. These are massive titles, which are usually comparisons with other scholars of the same era or city. So if you call someone today, if there's the biggest scholar of our time, if you say he's the pride of scholars or the son of scholars, we usually mean he's the best scholar, or he's one of the biggest of this era, not all the past 14 centuries. It usually means he's the best scholar. If the scholar enjoys these accolades, these titles, not due to being complimented, rather he derives joy from being addressed with these accolades because he knows that this praise will benefit the public, since they will pay heed to his advice admirably, in which case this is in actual fact, it's not desire of praise, rather it is a desire for Muslim welfare, which is an act of true faith. So that's one intention, where if a scholar is praised, he can like it. That doesn't mean even it's haram for even a scholar to like false praise and for him to like praise, thinking that it's his own, for him to forget that it's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his knowledge, etc. So praise, liking being praised isn't always haram. There's different situations. I'll read that to you again if I can. A story, a unique way to avoid coveting praise. Sayyidina Abu Hassan Muhammad bin Aslam Tusi Rahmatullahi, who was extremely careful about hiding his religious deeds in order to avoid coveting praise, greed for praise. He's quoted to have said, if I could, I would even hide my worships from my two recording angels. Sayyidina Abu Abdullah recalled, I spent more than 20 years with Sayyidina Abu Hassan Rahmatullahi, the above mentioned saint. Yet besides Jumu'ah Salah, along with other faraid and wajibat, I never noticed him pray even 2 voluntary rakat. So I only noticed him pray the fard namaz in Jumu'ah Salah, in this masjid and Jumu'ah Salah. He used to carry a vessel of water into his private room and lock the door from inside. I never realized that he, Rahmatullah, used to do what he used to do inside. Until one day his son cried loudly whilst his mother tried to silence him. Why is he crying so much? I asked. To which his mother answered, his father Abu Hassan Tusi Rahmatullahi enters this room and sobbingly recites the Quran. His son cries too when he hears his father crying. Shaykh Abdullah Rahmatullahi narrates, Sayyidina Abu Hassan Tusi Rahmatullahi was so careful with regards to hiding his religious deeds in order to avoid the dangers of showing off and desire for self-praise, that before exiting his private room, after having worshipped secretly inside, he would wash his face and apply kuhl, surma to his eyes, so that judging by his face and eyes, no one would realize that he had been crying inside. Okay, so the Salih Salihin would sometimes do these kind of things to avoid showing off, to save themselves from showing off, and to be ensure that they were sincere, hide, do their ibadat in private, and sort of not let people realize from their facial expressions. If someone had been crying from the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then he's walked out of a room and you can clearly tell he's been crying, then you'll probably think, well, this person's a saint, and you might praise them. And they don't want to be praised. So even though they've been crying profusely behind closed doors, and then wash their faces, apply surma, come out as though they've just stepped out of a room and they've not been crying. So this is just an example of the tasawwuf, the Sufiya Uzama, how they used to try to be as sincere as they can. So we've done the definition and one ayat and one hadith. We've done a story. We've done a hukam as well. Remember the hukam of wanting praise. The hukam that was on page 52, halfway, the ruling on coveting praise, wishing to be praised and feeling disappointed if you are criticized, is the root of major misguidance and sins. And remember that hadith is about the desire for praise blinds and deafens men. Let's do the 3 causes and cures for desiring praise. Number 1, the first cause of desiring praise is considering yourself to be unique as a result of receiving compliments from other people. So thinking that you're someone special, you're one in a million. The cure for this is for you to consider whether you are receiving these compliments for a worldly status, wealth, intelligence, or for any religious blessing, e.g. piety. If the answer is the former, i.e. someone's praising you for some worldly thing, wealth, etc., then you must never forget that these are temporary qualities, so why boast about short-term qualities? If the answer is the latter, religious qualities, someone praising you because of your taqwa, your knowledge, then you ought to be afraid of the secret decree, predestination of Allah Almighty, whilst always remaining concerned about dying an unfortunate death, and never cease praying to Allah Almighty for a faithful death. So if someone's praising you for a religious thing, well, because you're religious today, it doesn't mean you're always going to be religious. Shaitan was very religious. Shaitan worshipped for how many? 40,000 or 80,000 years? For 20,000 years, for 20,000 of those years, he was like the teacher of the angels. There was someone else. Wilayat, if someone's a saint, his saint can be taken away. So even if someone's praising you today because of some religious quality that you have, it doesn't mean that you're always going to have it. A Muslim, it's not guaranteed. We don't want to hear this. It's a very uncomfortable, awkward truth to hear, but we could die in a state of kufr. We've touched on this before as well. We could die as a non-Muslim, so we have to always, being afraid of Allah, self-declaring is, Ya Allah, I hope, even Wasi Pak radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that famous saying of his, people are saying that it's Eid tomorrow, but my Eid will be the day that I leave this dunya with my iman. So it's an awkward and uncomfortable truth. We don't like hear ulama stop mentioning it. We don't hear it in our jalsas, but there's a possibility that we can die in a state of kufr. Hence, always ask Allah Ta'ala for death in a state of iman. Always be worried. Always try to avoid guna, thinking that if I get into the habit obsessed with guna are like the sins are the stepping stones to disbelief. So avoid every bit of sin. Thinking this could lead me to kufr. It could lead me out of the fold of Islam. Be very careful with who you agree with. Just agreeing with everyone around us. Films, dramas, TV, songs are full of kufr lyrics. People in front of us, around us, in the Muslim community and outside the Muslim community make comments, even as a joke, which are kufr. So don't just nod your head and laugh to everything that you hear. You can lose your iman. So we have to be very careful. But these things are very awkward. People have stopped talking about them. It's like a lost knowledge, but it's for the ayn. Remember, it's for every Muslim to learn sentences that take you out of the fold of Islam or sentences that are haram. And to be on the safe side, we should do tajdeed iman every single day before sleeping, preferably by any time. You say, Ya Allah, if I've said anything that has taken me out of the fold of Islam today, I repent from it. And say La ilaha illallah. Renew your iman. We should renew our iman anyway. The Prophet ﷺ said, Jaddidu imanakum. Always refresh your iman. Because he ﷺ said, iman is like a cloth. It gets old, just like a piece of cloth or your clothes get old. Your iman gets old as well. So keep on refreshing it. The kalima, we should recite it anyway, but not just as a formality. Just like seriously thinking, Ya Allah, make me die as a Muslim. Please save me from dying as a non-Muslim. And this was even the prophets, though we know that the prophets are pure and they're perfect and they're flawless, they would be afraid, and the prophets were afraid. I'll try finding some quotes. If I forget, just remind me at the end. I've got some quotes of the prophets and how afraid the prophets and the Anbiya Kiram and the Sahaba were of, of their destiny um, taking a wrong turn, in the sense that, Iman. So number two, the second cause of desiring praise is wishing to increase the number of your admirers with the help of public compliments. Social media is an example of this. The cure for this is for you to contemplate in a manner, think in a manner such as this: what if my desire for public admiration becomes the cause of my degradation in the sight of Allah Almighty? This independently is a certain cause of damnation in this world and the hereafter. Okay, so just because people are admiring me, because I've got a fan following and people are liking me, does not mean that I'm liked in the Barakah of Allah Ta'ala. Someone can be the most famous and the most beloved in the eyes of the people, but he can be a mal'oon and cursed in the Barakah of Allah. And a very clear example of that is celebrities and musicians who can pack out whole stadiums with 50,000 people in their music concerts, and people are prepared to. People have devoted their whole lives to them. Admirers and fans go crazy over their favorite footballers, their favorite actors, their favorite singers. Yet all that 50,000, packing a stadium with 50,000 people, committing haram, yaqinan they are, the curse of Allah is upon them, the barakah of Allah. So being admired, sometimes a person dies, sometimes a person can die and not a single person attend his janazah, and he's not famous at all. He's a nobody in the eyes of people, but he's a saint in the sight of Allah. So it's just like someone can be very famous, very admired in the sight of people, yet at the same time in the court of Allah he's cursed. He's got no. Remember, this whole dunya is worth less than the wing of a mosquito in the barakah of Allah. And the opposite. Someone can be rejected by the dunya and considered a nobody, yet in the court of Allah Ta'ala, he is a saint. Number three, the third cause of desire for praise is to establish superiority and seniority over others. So wanting to control people. You can cure this by frequently contemplating in a manner such as this: how can such tremendously unstable short-term superiority and authority be a cause of compliments? Okay, so wanting power over people, when people are complimenting you, you'll have power, you can control people. The control is all short-term. You lose someone else is going to fight you for your status. Don't be greedy for compliments and for praise and for admiration just for those things. So those are the three main causes and cures. There will be other causes as well, and there'll be other cures as well. So this is just something for you to take away, food for thought, and do some research and study even more on this issue of desiring praise. And I want to repeat, I've already said it 3 or 4 times, but that hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hubbu thana yu'mi wa yusimu, the love of praise, it blinds and deafens a person. And that statement I said earlier by Mufti Ahmad Yar Khan Naimi Rahmatullahi, that most of the sins that humans commit are due to the greed of praise and the fear of condemnation. And just on the line of praise, the Nabi Kareem Alayhi Salam said as well, don't praise people to their faces. Unless you're absolutely sure that the person you're praising, he's not going to, get big-headed. Okay. Don't praise people to their faces. That's a hadith as well. Do not praise people to their faces. There's another hadith that we've studied in one of our previous lessons. إِذَا مُدِحَ الْفَاسِقِ غَضِبَ الرَّبُّ تَعَالَى وَاهْتَزَّ لَهُ الْعَرْشِ. When a sinner is praised, Allah Ta'ala is displeased, number one. Number two, the arsh of Allah shakes. The arsh of Allah, the throne of Allah, shakes and trembles when a sinner is praised. Sometimes praise can be kufr as well. The fuqaha say if someone's a tyrant and he's an oppressor, praising him and saying he's a just ruler, he's a adil ruler, some fuqaha have said this is kufr. So some praise can be kufr as well. So this hadith, we've done it before. When a fasik is praised, Allah Ta'ala is displeased and the arsh, the throne of Allah, shakes. That's the hadith. The throne of Allah shakes when you praise fasiks, when you praise sinners, because he's someone um, that Allah is displeased with him, and you are praising someone that Allah Ta'ala is displeased with. And I just want to read this Arabic commentary that was written centuries ago under this hadith. You know, this hadith that when you praise a fasik, a sinner, the arsh of Allah moves. Now, this is a scholar who's like maybe 4 centuries ago. So I'm telling you how long ago it was, because he says in his comment, these days. So this is someone 4 centuries ago saying this is a massive problem in our time. He's not talking about 2024, he's talking about 4 centuries ago. So he says in our time, this is a really big problem. Most scholars and most qaris just praise anyone in the masjid. Okay. So why do scholars and qaris, this is 4 centuries ago, he's saying أكثر العلماء, most scholars والشعراء والقراء في زماننا, in our zamana, they do a lot of false praise. Why do scholars and sadly why do a lot of scholars and qaris do false praise, which is lying as well? Because we studied one of the main causes of designing praise is wanting a big fan base. Scholars and qaris are like celebrities in their areas. So wanting a larger fan base, wanting people to come and listen to their taqreers. The larger our fan base is, the more people are going to invite us to their nikahs and give us money. The more the people are going to, the chances of us being invited to khatams and being given money increase as well. So things like that have destroyed the greed for money. Has really affected scholars and qurra and imams as well. Um, I spoke about opinions earlier. Opinions. You know, when we talk about this is just off. Well, it's not off topic, but opinions. I'm trying to find this really good hadith as well. I found it here. That's a different hadith. But just two things. You know, when we talk about arrogance, uh, humility isn't just bowing your head and sort of meeting someone um, cheerfully and having a tasbih in your hand. You know what? A really strong test, really like proper test of whether someone's arrogant or humble. It's not whether he bows his head when he meets you. It's how quickly someone is prepared to admit a mistake and change their opinions. The thing that really kills us, kills our ego, is how quickly or how problematic you find it to change an opinion or admit a mistake. Imam Ghazali says there's about 5 tests. If you want to test out if you're arrogant or humble, there's about 5 things. One of them is going to the market and carrying your own stuff and walking in front of everyone with your own baggage. The other, I think, is um, how easy or hard you find it to do your housework. Okay. One of the tests of arrogance is how easy or hard you find it to do salam to your wife or people who are your subordinates or children, to do salam first to them. But he says that the main test, you know, the strongest, if you were to remember one thing regarding arrogance and humility, is how easy or hard you find it to admit your mistake and to change an opinion. Some people will just go through great lengths, and I touched on this earlier as well, to avoid embarrassment. And I said about the sects as well. Sometimes there's a whole sect created. It wouldn't have been created if that person just admitted he made a religious mistake. If he admitted I said something about the Holy Prophet that I shouldn't have said and it's Gustafi, if he just admitted it, he would have saved it. A sect wouldn't have emerged from that. But the how difficult it is to avoid, and especially if you're for a peer, the higher you get, the more attention you get, the higher status, the harder it becomes to admit a mistake. The real test of arrogance or ajizi is can you admit mistakes easily and can you change opinions? Or do you make loads of excuses to just be stubborn and not want to change your opinion? That thing I was mentioning, this hadith, a beautiful hadith, and I was talking about how Even if no one praises you, sometimes you can have 1 million followers, but you're cursed in the bargah of Allah. And secondly, you can have not a single follower but be loved by Allah Ta'ala. There's a beautiful hadith in Bukhari Sharif. Two people, if you imagine the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the Sahaba, this is in Bukhari Sharif. The Holy Prophet ﷺ saw someone and he asked the Sahaba, what are your comments about this individual? What do you think about him? And the Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, he was like a very, someone with a strong social image. The Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, he is someone who, if he was to propose to someone and ask someone for his daughter's hand in marriage, he would not be refused. If he was to intercede on behalf of someone, if he was to put a word in for someone, no one says no to him. And when he speaks, people definitely listen to him. So obviously he's got a very strong social image. The Holy Prophet ﷺ remained quiet. Hearing these comments from the Sahaba, he remained quiet. Then another second person, a faqir, a poor person, walked past. The Holy Prophet ﷺ asked the Sahaba, what do you think about this man? And they said, Ya Rasulullah, if he was to propose to someone, he would get rejected. If he was to put a word and do shafa'at, intercede for someone, no one would listen to him. And number three, if he speaks, no one bothers listening to him. Hearing these two comments by the Sahaba about two different individuals, the Prophet ﷺ said, this second one, he alone is better than a whole earth full of the first person. If the whole earth was full of people like the first one, the second one alone, that faqir, who no one even will bother to listen to, no one will give their daughter's hand in marriage to him. If he was to intercede, no one cares about. He's basically, slang term, he's a nobody, but he's better. That's the hadith in Bukhari Sharif. And when we read the commentary of that hadith, when we ask the ulama, well, why is he better? Well, because of the cleanliness and the taqwa inside his heart, because of the state of his heart. So it's taqwa that makes you better. So again, that's relevant to our subject today in the sense that, whether someone praises or not. It's easy for us to say this, and every second person in our community says, I'm not bothered about what the people say. If I think someone's right, I say it. If I think someone's right, I do it. If I think someone's wrong, I say it, and I don't do it. We all say that, but really, it's very hard to actually do that. We are influenced on a sort. There are many times we're afraid to speak. It's much harder. Every second person claims that they aren't bothered about people's feelings, but when someone actually criticizes our reaction, the way we get upset, the way we get agitated, the way we're very quick to defend ourselves. We start twitching and be like, no, it's not like that. We get angry. Our body language says that we are bothered about what people think. We do want to be liked. And the nafs is born in a state of evil. The human ego wants attention. It's evil by nature. We want attention. We don't like being criticized. So you have to work on being unaffected by criticism. You're not born in that state. You have to work on that. You have to work on not bothering about praise and just being bothered about what your maqam in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Yeah, so and we are taught, because I've mentioned this in the showing off topic, because from a very young age, even when we're kids, it's drilled inside of us. You look silly if you do this. And so it's drilled inside of us, just worried about what other people. So because it's drilled into our heads from the age of 7, 8, and in our community, it's like in our DNA in one sense, worrying about what other people think. You're supposed to do that. Okay. Self-critical. That's a blessing in itself. There's a hadith about. Do you mean how do you see your own faults? The hadith about إذا أراد الله بعبد خيرا يبصره عيوبه. When Allah wants to bless you, He shows you your faults. So even seeing your own faults is a great blessing, to be honest with you. There's a nice riwayat in a book by Imam Abdul Wahab Sha'rani, a book called Tanbih al-Muqtadin. Imam Sha'rani says that every human has two bags. spiritually talking, he says you got a bag in front of you and a bag behind you. The bag in front of you has the faults of other people, and the bag behind you has your faults. You can't look in front of you and behind you at the same time. If you look at the bag in front of you, you won't see the one behind you. If you look at the one behind you, you won't see the one in front of you. So, and the Sufiya do say, blessed is that person whose own faults distract him from spying on the faults of other people. So I don't know fully the answer of your question, but it does seem like just focusing to focus on our own faults. We have to sort of not focus on the faults of other people. We have a very in our community, it's part of our culture, just focusing on other people's faults and not focusing on our own, or focusing on our own 5% or 10% and 90% or 95%, focusing on the faults of other people. And it is, there's a hadith part, a Muslim is supposed to be simple. There's many hadiths of this. The Prophet ﷺ said, a Muslim is so simple that he's easy to fool. A Muslim is easy to fool. Because why? What does that hadith mean? The Prophet ﷺ said, a Muslim, because of his iman, because of his sharafat, he's easy to fool. Because of his kind nature. So don't be stupid. If a Muslim is easy to fool because he's always trying to see the best in people, he's always doing husn zan in people. Okay, to just spy on people. A Muslim doesn't know. A Muslim is not crafty. That's what the hadith means. A Muslim is not crafty. He's not. He doesn't know the ways of sins. So he's a simpleton. This is a hadith about the majority of people in Jannah will be simple people. Any people who are not crafty, because they're always focusing on their own ujub and focusing on their deen. You can either be sincere in your deen or you can be crafty. You can either be mukhlis or chalak. You can't be both. The majority in our community, we glorify chalaki, being crafty. Hence why the severe, disturbing lack of sincerity. You can either be sincere or chalak. It's very difficult to be both. Yes, there is a hadith, there is a riwayat. I won't say hadith just to be on the safe side, but definitely riwayat. When Allah blesses you with taqwa, when you remove the love of the dunya from your heart, Allah makes you intelligent even without experience. Allah Pak makes you intelligent even without experience when you remove the love of the dunya from your heart. But a Muslim will always be easy to fool because he's finding the best in people and he's just not crafty. He doesn't know how to do sins. So you can either be mukhlis or chalak. Sadly, the majority of us are within a community, within a culture where we glorify being chalak, and you can get promotions more quickly, you can earn more quickly if you're chalak, and you can avoid embarrassment, you can get more fan following if you're chalak. But that doesn't mean you're sincere. I'm sure there's 10 different answers to your question as well about how to be self-reflective. But really, at the end of the day, even humility, another thing that comes to mind, to answer your question, how do you see your own faults? Humility is a condition. An arrogant person, one of the biggest harms of arrogance and pride is you can't see your own faults because you think you're kamil. So humility is a condition to see your own faults. Arrogance and ego and pride and the love of praise makes you blind and deaf to your own faults as well. So and humility is itself a blessing. So I guess it is, ask Allah Ta'ala, Ya Allah, make me humble and make me see my faults. Ya Allah, make me see my faults. I can't see them. Even thinking that I can figure out my own faults myself, I think there might be a level of pride even in that. Ya Allah, I can't see my faults. I'm blind. I'm deaf. You show me my faults and guide me to rectifying them. And good companies also. Hopefully this class will benefit us as well. Good company, someone to just keep on reminding you, reading. The books are brilliant, but we always need a good company, and we need physically someone to try to walk you through things as well. Having a friend that points out to you your weakness. Remember when we started the very first day, even before the first lesson, we studied those 4 methods. How do you generally rectify yourself? There were 4 methods. The very first, even before lesson 1, 4 ways to do your own islah. Having a murshid kamil, having a friend that points out your weaknesses to you. The third one was enemies. Use your enemies' criticisms, even if they say uh, 9 out of 10 things might be lies, but that one thing might be true. Work on that. It might be true, even though you don't like that person. And what was the fourth thing? Is just whatever. Look at your community, whatever flaws and faults the community has. Most likely, you've grown up in the same community. You've undergone the same social conditioning, so you will have the same problems as well. There was one tiny thing that came in my mind whilst I was answering your question. It slipped again. If I think of it, yeah. Jazakallah. Assalatu wassalamu alayka ya Sayyidi ya Rasulullah. Salatu wassalamu alayka ya Habibullah. Astaghfirullah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil. So if I think of it, I'll put it on the group. I'll mention it tomorrow. There was something about what Azmat just asked now, and